Okay, so thanks very much for joining this Global Opportunities webinar on Go Abroad here at Goldsmiths. I'm Eduardo Lees, I'm the Global Opportunities Manager, and we're really pleased to have you here with us this afternoon. Over the next hour, we're going to introduce you to the kind of opportunities that may be available to gain international experience here at Goldsmiths, and also have a really interesting question and answer session with two students who took part in international opportunities over the last year, Alice and Antonia. I'm going to just quickly introduce everyone who's on the call. So I'll hand over to you, Jack, to do a short introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Selby. I'm the Global Opportunities Manager at Goldsmiths.
And Shannon and Alice and Antonia, if you'd like to go next.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm the Global Opportunities Coordinator. So I look after a lot of our bachelor opportunities and the students coming to Goldsmiths for a term or for the year.
Thanks, Shannon. And Alice, you're on mute still.
I'm Alice. I'm in my third year. I studied in Copenhagen last semester.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alice. And Antonia?
Oh, hi. I think my video is not, I think you have to allow me to share my video.
All right, okay.
Please, thank you.
Would you like to just introduce yourself and then I'll try and...
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
So I am Antonia. I'm a recent graduate from Politics and International Relations. I just graduated, and last year in my last term of uni, I actually did two opportunities. So one with Erasmus, thank you, and one with Santander Universities to do a course in Georgetown University in Washington. So that was pretty cool.
Fantastic, and we're really excited to hear from both you, Alice, and you, Antonia, about your opportunities shortly. And next slide, please, Jack. So just before we give an introduction to the opportunities that are available, just to give an overview of this presentation. So we're going to introduce different ways that you can gain international experience here at Goldsmiths, whether it's kind of going abroad, studying and working abroad, or kind of gaining international experience virtually. I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on the current situation, of course, because it is a slightly unusual situation that we're in, both in terms of coronavirus and in terms of Brexit, and outline some of the plans for the coming academic year. So currently, we are looking to support students to study abroad for a term at partner universities. We have got a student studying abroad at the moment, but this, the ability to study abroad really is dependent on the different environments of the host countries where we're sending students due to the ongoing situation with coronavirus. So this presentation, it gives you an introduction to some of the opportunities available, but currently not all of them will be available right now, but we're kind of hoping that by next spring, next summer, a lot more of those opportunities will be available, and in particular next academic year, that we will be able to send more students abroad. We have introduced increased risk assessment for each of the kind of opportunities and for the countries that we're sending students to in order to try and still offer those international experiences, but also make sure that students are safe and that the academic side of things isn't impacted. The other challenge at the moment is, as we leave the European Union, where we get a lot of our funding from the European Union through the Erasmus programme, that may come to an end in the coming next couple of years. So that may also have an impact on some of the opportunities that you have while you're here at Goldsmiths. For the moment, though, I can confirm that we do have Erasmus funding for the current academic year next summer as well, and also for the next academic year. So we are introducing that opportunity to you in this presentation as well. And in this, over the next term, we're actually going to be working with students and looking at other opportunities that are available to put together international opportunities for students for next summer. And we hope to launch them in January. We'll give you a little bit of information around some of the kind of funding that might be available, the kind of style of funding that might be available in this presentation. But we won't be able to go into too much detail because we will be launching that in January. But we hope that even if students can't go abroad next summer because of coronavirus, we hope that there will be virtual opportunities for you as well. And now I'm going to hand over to Jack, who is going to introduce you to the different areas of international experience here at Goldsmiths. So whether it's studying abroad for a term, whether it's doing some study abroad over the summer, or whether it's a virtual global opportunity. So over to you, Jack.
Thanks very much, Ed. So yeah, I suppose the first thing that we're going to look at is why would it be worth you taking part in the Go Abroad options here at Goldsmiths. So as you can see on the PowerPoint in front of us, the thing that I like to maybe sometimes start with is the statistics in the right. So we have a study here, which I think is from the British Council, and it tells us students who go abroad, and this is whether they are going abroad to study or indeed do some voluntary work, interning, or some work abroad. Students who do so are 9% more likely to gain a first or a 2-1 in their degree. They're 24% less likely to be unemployed, and I think that's 6 months after graduation. 9% more likely to be in a graduate level job 6 months post-graduation, and they're 5% higher wage earners 6 months after graduation versus those students who don't go and then do some sort of study or work abroad. There we go. So yeah, for us, I suppose in our experience of sending students abroad, we found from feedback from students that they gain experience of working or studying internationally, experience of different work and academic styles and environments. They're able to stand out from the crowds. And I think that's an important point because it's links into the next one about employability. When students graduate from, I suppose, London universities, if students are, let's say they've studied media and they've got a 2-1 in media and they're applying for a media job, maybe entry-level graduate job, and they'll be up against lots of other students who will have also got a 2-1 in media from a university in London or the United Kingdom. So what's going to help you get that job versus Joe Bloggs from Queen Mary's? If you've been and you've studied abroad, or you've undertaken some sort of summer holidays go abroad opportunity, that's something that you can write about in your job application. It's also something that you can talk about in your job interview. And it's surprising the number of places that you can almost, I don't know if crowbar is the right way of putting it, but you can link it in. So anything about, have you, this is an interview question that's very common and I've been asked before, can you give me an example of a time you've overcome a difficult situation? Well, I've gone and studied abroad, or I've gone and worked abroad, brand new country, new language, new environment, had to work with people from different cultures and who maybe have a different first language. Instantly you have an answer for that question, a better one than I would have had when I graduated, and my answer would have been something about dealing with a difficult customer at Sainsbury's or HMV. So these sorts of things I think are really important, and you can see there in the statistics in the top right how undertaking these kind of global opportunities does lead to you being able to get better jobs or get a job more quickly than your peers. The stats also show us that there are better degree outcomes for students who are mobile, meaning study or work abroad. Of course, you get improved self-confidence and independence, greater intercultural awareness and communication skills. And I think on that, it's the classic travel broadens the mind and everything as well. I think it's an important thing. Sorry, there are some crows outside my window. I'm just going to close it. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Where was I? Yes, so as I mentioned, intercultural awareness, as well as that, new relationships and networks for future collaboration. Oftentimes you'll find students that go and study abroad while they're an undergraduate will actually go back and do a master's at the institution where they spent a term abroad. But not just that, if students go and do some work abroad over the summer holidays, we've had experience in the past, we hear about people then going back and you know, doing a full-time job after graduating from university. Where have students gone in the past? So we can see here, we've sent students to study abroad for a term at Amsterdam, University of Bologna, University of Vienna, and many other institutions, both inside and outside of Europe. In terms of short-term opportunities over the summer holidays, we've sent students to attend computing conferences in Berlin, study French language in Paris, volunteer at a psychiatric hospital in Sri Lanka, teach English in Spain. It's a very common one. A slightly more unique one, we sent someone to study, to design Italian furniture next to Lake Como in Italy as part of their design work placements. And we sent a number of people to complete online summer schools in research methods, digital interaction, mindfulness, gender. That was particularly useful for us this summer with the coronavirus limiting people's ability, I suppose, to actually physically get abroad. We've also sent students to work remotely for a South African NGO. More specifically on studying abroad, the way that that works at Goldsmiths and at many other UK universities is we'll send students to study at a partner institution for a term. Once they have done so, they'll bring the grades and the credits achieved during that term studying abroad back to Goldsmiths. This allows the students to graduate at the end of their normal 3 years. They're not doing an additional year on top of the standard 3-year degree or anything like that. It's it allows for them to graduate on time. We've got a link here that is, so I'm just checking the chat. Fantastic. The link here, we'll email out the presentation to everyone who signed up at the end of this, so you'll be able to follow through any of the links that you can see displayed in the PowerPoint. When we send students to study abroad at partner universities, they will be taught in English. When we make a partnership with another university in Europe, we would always request that they have modules taught in English to allow our students to go there and be taught in English. Generally, British students are maybe not the best at picking up additional languages, so we found that this is the most accessible way for us to set up our partnerships. When you study abroad at a partner university, it is done through the Erasmus scheme. The Erasmus scheme, as Eduardo mentioned in his introduction, is it basically was set up by the European Union. The European Union pumps money into it, which means that we can send students to study abroad and there are no additional tuition fees for them. Indeed, students actually receive funding from the Erasmus scheme to allow them to go and study abroad. When you go and study abroad, you continue to receive your student loan as you would normally. The only difference would be you would lose the London weighting that students who do go to university in London receive. And many of our partner universities will offer you the option to go into their own halls of residence or accommodation that they have. And studying abroad at a partner university, the opportunities vary from department to department. So anthropology, for example, have a partnership with the Free University of Berlin. But if I'm a politics student, I wouldn't be able to go and study at the University of Berlin. Politics, I think, have partnerships in, various countries, but I think certainly Denmark and places like that. So the departments are very specifically set up, so it's department to department rather than university to university. And again, there's going to be a lot of web links shared in this PowerPoint that will take you to the part of our website which shows you all of the partner universities relevant to your department. Undergraduates, when we send them abroad, they tend to study abroad in autumn or spring term of their second year or autumn of your third year. And we also have opportunities for masters and PhD students to go and study abroad as part of their time at Goldsmiths. For master's students, it becomes slightly tricky, and generally the master's students we send to study abroad are part-time master's students who have 2 years at Goldsmiths. I mentioned the funding previously. If you're going to study abroad via the Erasmus scheme, which is the way that we send students to study abroad, you receive a monthly Erasmus Plus grant of €370 or €420. That's based on the cost of living in the host country that you're going to. Off the top of my head, Scandinavia, for example, you'd get €420 a month because it's a high cost of living country. As I think I referenced earlier, we do actually have some partnerships outside of Europe. So China, Hong Kong, Japan, to name a few. If we're sending students to study abroad there, they get substantially more monthly funding from the Erasmus scheme. They also get a travel grant. For students going to study abroad, there's a standard €120 per month top up, which is on top of the standard Erasmus grant. And that's for students who come from households whose income is under £25,000 a year. The Erasmus scheme also offers an additional support fund for students with disabilities. Goldsmiths offers an access to study abroad bursary of up to £800 for widening participation students. Again, widening participation students, you can find a list of the criteria to be considered a WP student on our website. When paying Erasmus students their grant, rather than paying you month to month, we actually pay you 80% upfront to help with costs such as accommodation and flights, which we found is very helpful. And then you get the final 20% at the end of your placement. Recently, we've also introduced a green travel fund as well. That's a £200 grant to travel in a sustainable manner to your host university. So, I mean, really that means not flying. Okay, so moving on from study abroad now, we'll look at international work, volunteer and short-term study placements. So these will be more the kind of activities that you would undertake in the summer term or the summer holidays between academic years. So in terms of eligibility, your placement must be linked to your current study or indeed your future career plans, must be full-time, must have a structured program of activity, hosted by an organisation, so it can't be hosted by a friend, for example, and it must be outside of the United Kingdom, but not in your home country. In terms of application timings and approval and funding, those will all, I think, we'll find those aren't closer to the end of this year, and then they'll go live on our website for you all. We're now going to look at Erasmus funded summer opportunities. These are referred to as Erasmus traineeships. These can only be undertaken in Europe, and they have some regulations attached to them that are basically given to us by the Erasmus scheme. I'll go into those slightly more in a second. So previously, we've sent students on Erasmus traineeships to work at a publishing office in Amsterdam, recording studio in Iceland, and the United Nations in Hungary. The funding is even more generous than for studying abroad, €470 to €520 per month, again, based on cost of living in the country. Also €20 per month top up for household income of £25,000 a year or below. Again, they're the same access to the additional support grant from the Erasmus scheme for students with disabilities, and to the green travel grant for students who want to travel in a means more sustainable. And for these, interestingly, internships can be done, these Erasmus traineeship internships can be undertaken before or after graduation. I think that they're actually open for a year. They're open, a year after graduation. You can even take them then, so it doesn't have to be during your studies between your first and second year or second and third year. Okay, and now under 2 months, these are the non-Erasmus summer holiday opportunities. So for these ones, we've sent students to volunteer at a refugee centre in Greece and attend a summer school in Helsinki. These are open to all part-time, full-time undergraduate and postgraduate students. The funding, again, we're going to confirm slightly closer to the end of the year or maybe early next year. We do offer additional funding if you meet the WP criteria I referenced earlier. You are still eligible for the Green Travel Funds. These ones, in contrast to the Erasmus summer holiday traineeships I mentioned, can actually be undertaken worldwide. So you could go to any country in the world that you can find that will either accept you for an internship or short-term study, whatever it is that's kind of under 2 months. And that is because these are funded not by Erasmus, but by Santander universities and by Goldsmiths College. Okay, if you're interested in undertaking one of these placements, unlike with study abroad, where we have a kind of list for you on our website, these placements are sourced by the students themselves. If you'd like some help, you can speak to your academic department, who may have links with organisations around the world. You can also speak to Goldsmiths Career Service, who have certainly helped in the past students looking to undertake some sort of international placement over the summer. Or, as is very common, you can simply go out on your own and get in touch directly with an organisation that you're interested in working with. We do actually have a page on our website which is specifically on how to find an international placement. Now I'm going to look at virtual opportunities. I mentioned before something that was very popular this summer because the coronavirus, I think, led to people either being unable to go and travel abroad to undertake an internship or a placement, or simply people didn't feel comfortable doing so, and so they were happy to do a virtual opportunity instead. So what are they? These are placements that you're going to do virtually. Obviously, this is something you're going to be doing from home, and they're helpful because they can help you build skills from your home. They're opportunities to study or work virtually while engaging internationally. Ideally, when we're looking at the applications come in, we're hoping that they involve interacting virtually with participants from across the world. So you still get that kind of global interaction that is so valuable. For an example, virtual study abroad and exchanges, remote internships, online professional development courses with a global focus, online language classes, Erasmus virtual exchange, and that last one's actually free. Funding and timings, again, are to be confirmed at a later point, but the idea with the virtual ones is that you would apply to us for funding that would cover the cost of the course. Some resources that you can use, and again, just a reminder that we will email out this PowerPoint. Partner universities offer lots of, or have certainly this summer offered lots of virtual opportunities. The University of Amsterdam was hugely popular, Utrecht as well, and Humboldt in Berlin. Goabroad.com or Go Overseas, another useful resource. Foreign language courses, always very popular. FutureLearn, edX, erasmusintern.org and eurodesk.org, all very useful. So do check them out if you're interested. Okay. If you're interested in applying, you're going to be doing, if you're applying for any of these opportunities, you're going to be doing it online. We're going to aim to launch late 2020, early 21, coronavirus dependent. Funding, as I mentioned, we'll be able to confirm later on. We've got a link here for the Go Abroad widening participation criteria, which I mentioned before. If you do meet any of that criteria, you're eligible for additional funding. And there's also some guidance on application writing on the Go Abroad blog, which also you can find on our website. So our priority when sending students abroad, physically or virtually, is to send students who've not had international experience before, so they've not done an Erasmus trip previously, maybe in their undergraduate degree or in college or sixth form. The students that we prioritise would also be students who've not already received funding from us. And we particularly welcome applications from students who are due to go abroad in early 2020, but had their placements cancelled because of the coronavirus pandemic. Okie dokie. I hope everyone's still with us. We're now going to move on to the alumni question and answer session. I'm going to start with Alice, who I hope is still with us.
Hello.
You're right. And I'm just
Yeah.
I'm going to get my list of questions up. So. Great. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, Alice.
Thank you.
So I know you mentioned it in Eduardo's introduction to today's webinar, but could you please tell us who you are, what did you study, where did you study, and yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
So I'm Alice. I'm studying sociology at Goldsmiths. I'm going into my third year now. But in my second term of second year, I studied sociology at the University of Copenhagen for 6 months. So.
Fantastic, thank you. Can you tell us what motivated you to study abroad as part of your Goldsmiths degree?
Yeah, so I actually, in my first year, didn't go into halls. I decided to stay at home, just kind of personal reasons, really. But yeah, that was kind of like the next step for me, I think, was going abroad. It was like to get out of my comfort zone a bit, living at home, commuting. And I went to like a Go Abroad talk and I thought it sounded fun. So I applied, and the rest is history, really.
Yeah. And did you find it fun?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so good. Yeah, it was really fun. So I'm glad I applied.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, okay. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit more how you found studying abroad in Copenhagen, and in particular, were there any highlights?
Yeah, so I found it interesting. It was a different way of learning out there, which was kind of different structure in terms of lectures, seminars. But yeah, I suppose the highlights were meeting people from different cultures, and also like having the opportunity to go to a completely different uni with a different way of teaching, and yeah, completely different kind of syllabus to what I'd had before. So that was really good. Highlights were just living in such a beautiful city, and like it sounds a bit cringe, but when you go somewhere for a weekend, it's one thing, but actually living there and like immersing yourself in it was so different. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect, making new friends, like just yeah everything really.
Great. This one, I guess, is quite specific to the time that you actually went and studied abroad. So how did you find studying abroad when the coronavirus pandemic started?
Yeah, it was hard. It came on, especially in Denmark, it came on very suddenly. So I remember we were in someone's flat, and one Danish person was there, and there was just this news flash, and it was like university shutting tomorrow, and we didn't know what was going on because we didn't speak Danish. So that was quite scary. But then quite soon, like I got used to like the whole online thing, which obviously is going to be this year. But yeah, there were a few low points, but yeah, it was, I suppose everyone's in the same boat really, but yeah, it was kind of strange going straight online.
And how did you handle I suppose, the online learning that you then had to start doing?
I mean, the uni were really helpful. They were just emailing all the time, like sending us resources, which was good. But obviously, we couldn't get books out the library. I wasn't very familiar with their online library system as I am with Goldsmiths. So I was actually using quite a lot of the online e-library from Goldsmiths while I was there because I didn't really have a choice. And I really liked the stuff on there anyway. But yeah, it was quite hard, but I just got used to it. And I think the lecturers there were really helpful. And I actually contacted quite a few of my lecturers from Goldsmiths to ask them for help because, yeah, I didn't really know any of my lecturers there. So, yeah, that was really good.
Great. Next question I have is, were you able to build a support network whilst you were studying abroad in Copenhagen?
Yeah, I did, because when you go there, it's probably similar for Goldsmiths as well. There was like Erasmus kind of student mentors there. So they would set up a lot of like Facebook pages, events, like they did like different days out. Like one of the mentors had us all round to their flat one night. So you kind of build a connection that way. But also there's so many different like events, and almost like it was kind of like almost like a Freshers Week thing. So I met loads of students, and obviously I lived in halls as well. So I met a lot of students there who I ended up becoming really good friends with, and we all kind of became like a little family because we all didn't have our families, partners, friends there. So that was really important to me.
Great. My next question is, were there any obstacles you had to overcome in studying abroad, maybe besides coronavirus outbreak?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't know that was going to happen when I was there.
No.
It's quite ironic really, because I feel like I prepared for every eventuality apart from something like that. So I was like, my anxious brain was preparing for everything, but nothing could prepare me for that. But
no.
yeah, I think more for me, like my mental health, like I'm quite an anxious person. I worry about a lot of things. So for me to do that was quite like a scary thing. But yeah, that was kind of the main obstacle. Also, just things you wouldn't think about, like you have to pack like 1 or 2 suitcases for 6 months. You can't just pop home and get stuff.
Yeah.
Like just stuff like little things like that. Like they're not so much obstacles, but they're just like little practical things that are challenging at times. You're like, oh, I haven't got that thing, I haven't got that, I haven't got this out here, where do I buy this? Like, it was things like that that I think when you actually get there were like obstacles you have to kind of overcome. But yeah.
Great. Next question I have, did you experience any homesickness when you got to Copenhagen? And if so, how did you deal with that?
I didn't necessarily experience that much homesickness, surprisingly, because I thought I would. But I FaceTimed a lot. my parents actually came to visit me before coronavirus happened, which was really nice. Yeah, just like FaceTiming. I would quite often like send postcards home. My friends and family would send me like moonpig cards and stuff like that. And yeah, just keeping on the text messages, like social media to my family and friends, and also just talking to people that I was friends with out there, like the girls I became really close to. We'd all have times where we'd be really crying, and like just leaning on other people and talking about it, I think is really important. And obviously, if you really need to, like there's wellbeing team at Goldsmiths and wellbeing team at the other uni, which I didn't get in touch with, but I know other people did, and that helped.
Great.
Mm.
How do you feel you've benefited from this international experience?
I think I've benefited. What you said earlier, I agree with. When you said that a lot of people go back and do like a master's at that university, because I'm actually considering going back to Copenhagen to do a
really?
master's. Yeah. And I don't know, just like what I like about it is I met so many people from like New Zealand, Australia, America, and it's nice to know that like if I went to New Zealand tomorrow, I'd have a familiar face there. And like just having them connections, I think has benefited me the most, because now I feel like that will always be like kind of like a second home where I could go. And I don't know, that's kind of like the main thing for me. And like learning about a new culture, definitely, like because the Danish way is quite different. So just learning that was really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the last question I have for you. What advice would you give to anyone considering studying or working abroad?
I would just say apply, go for it, do it. It's honestly like it was some of the best months of my life. I loved it. And yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm quite an anxious person, and I did it and loved it, and I didn't feel anxious at all. So I think it's just definitely trying to like step out your comfort zone a bit. And also like a practical thing, I spent quite a lot of time and effort like into the application when I applied, because I knew I really wanted to do it. I spent quite a lot of time like doing my application, really thinking about it, and I spent a lot of time like talking to family, like asking them what they thought, and just like planning for it as well. Once I knew I was going, just like making sure I planned quite carefully. And yeah, that's kind of the main things really.
Great, thank you so much. I think I'm now going to hand over to Eduardo again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alice and Jack. And Alice, that was so great to hear from you there, and really good advice at the end in terms of kind of all the planning in terms for your application and for before you go, and lots of great tips there for kind of dealing with homesickness. I think that whole point of leaning on the people around you. I know that we have quite a lot of international students who've just arrived in London, so we'll be having that kind of experience here in London. So I think that hopefully that's really useful information for those students listening as well. And yeah, will just be useful advice. So thanks very much, Alice.
Thank you.
I'm now going to introduce Antonia. Antonia, is your video working?
Yeah, it is working now.
Fantastic.
Hi everybody. Hi Eduardo, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? And you're calling us from Colombia today?
Yeah, actually I had to run to I'm in the countryside, not in the main city. And I had to run to a little cafe that have better network, better Wi-Fi. So this morning I was running and I'm here. It's quite nice, it's quite hot.
Oh, wow, well, it's fantastic to have you here with us. Thanks very much for joining. So what we wanted to hear from you was a little bit about your virtual global opportunity, which you did over the summer. So yeah, if you just want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you did, and kind of what your international experience was like. I know you had two, so maybe a couple to cover there.
Okay, so I am Antonia. I study at Goldsmiths. I study politics and international relations. I just graduated, so I am back home now. But actually, I was finishing, I extended my deadlines to August. So I was finishing uni and dissertation throughout the summer. But at the same time, I feel like I had so much time on my hands. I applied for the global virtual opportunities. And it's quite sad because I came to know about them quite late, like in my last term of university. And I really wish I knew about them before, because there's just so much, so many interesting things that I wish I did before. But I applied to two of them. So the first one was the Erasmus Virtual Exchange, which is free. And the second one, I applied to a seat for a course in Georgetown University in Washington through Santander Universities. So Santander give you funding or they sponsor you to do this course. So those are the two I did over the summer.
And you've kind of mentioned this already, but what kind of motivated you to do the virtual opportunity? I know maybe because you had lots of time, but what else was it that attracted you to them?
I think when I was doing my dissertation and just finishing uni, I feel like I really wanted to make the most out of uni before I finish. Like I had these little prizes, like I didn't do enough. I want to do more. So I think just wanting to learn different things, because politics and international relations is quite a broad topic, but at the same time it's quite theoretical. We don't do much practice, and we're always in like our little niche at Goldsmiths. So I wanted to expand and just see different things, learn in different ways, especially with people from different parts of the world, because I study international relations and most of my class was British, or so I was like, no, I need international experience that goes along with my international relations degree.
Fantastic. And can you give us some detail on what you did, maybe first with the Erasmus Virtual Exchange and then onto the Santander Georgetown project as well?
All right, so for the Global Erasmus Virtual Exchange, it's really easy. They have this portal that you can just join different courses, and then you just literally subscribe. It's for everybody. Everybody can join it. You don't need to apply for anything. It's just joining like an online course. Then they give you, it was quite interesting because they have their own portals for like their own VLE, their own meeting classroom online. I don't know, it's not Zoom, it's not Teams, it's their own program. And it's quite interesting because it is, when you're in class, it is the way you see it, it's like a class. So the moderator is in the middle and the people are like sitting down in the screen. So it's like if you are sitting in a circle, but online. And it's really nice because it's better. I think it's better than Zoom and Teams because we have like turns. So you take the microphone and then you let it go and somebody else can do it. So that way we all make sure that we all listen to each other and we are not cutting or talking over each other. And the moderator have a little chat and he transcribes everything that is going on. So I think that was quite interesting to have like an experience, a virtual experience that simulated so much like a classroom and so easy to join, so easy to participate. They every week they tell you what you have to read, what you have to watch, and then you come and discuss it. And I had classmates from Italy, from Jordan in the Middle East. I was in London, there was another girl from Romania. So it was literally like from all around the world. So that was quite interesting. The course I joined is Countering Hate Speech. And it was really nice that we were talking about it through different perspectives, different cultural lenses at a moment that was so crucial. Like we were talking about it literally when Black Lives Matter movement started. So it was just so relevant. And it was so nice to have like a group of international people all around the world talking about it and just expressing what we thought and how we felt. So that was quite nice. And then I joined the Santander Scholarship for Georgetown University. It was a course called Social Innovation and Enhancing Financial Inclusion in the Digital Age. And it was quite nice, but it was a little bit more difficult to apply, but at the same time quite easy. Like if you think about it, Georgetown University is a top university in the US, and you just go to the portal of Santander Go, you make a profile there, and then there is several courses you can join that Santander potentially could sponsor you to apply. So you apply to the one that you like, and then you have to, the way I did it is I sent my CV, I sent a small essay of 500 words of why I wanted to do that course. I sent a professor's letter recommendation, and I sent my grades. And then they let you know whether you were chosen or not. If you are chosen, Santander pays for everything. So you don't need to like put any money or anything. usually they told us that the course was presential, so we will be there in Washington, but because of Corona, they make it virtual. So my whole experience was virtual as well. And it was quite nice. I was really surprised. It was like, I couldn't believe I was in a top university, doing a course in a top university across the, in the other side of the world. And it was so easy to just do it. It was very competitive. They say that they only chose 52 people from around the world to do it. But I am just so glad I applied, because at the start I was like, I don't know if I should. It's so competitive. I don't know if I have the grades. And they were like, doesn't matter, I'm just gonna apply. And I applied and I got it, and it was fantastic. Like the professors, the people I was studying with, it was amazing.
Fantastic. And you've talked a little bit about the people that you met. How did you build that kind of network virtually? And are you still in touch with any of the people that you met on the mobility?
I am still in touch with several of them, actually. From the Erasmus experience, I'm in touch especially with one girl, Roxana. She's in Italy, and at the moment we're quite like good friends, actually, because we have similar life experiences. And at the moment we're applying for jobs together over the phone. We have never met, but we are really close, and we hope to meet soon. And in the Santander, in the Georgetown University, I'm in touch with two good friends. One of the girls is in Argentina, and I'm really like, I'm so glad I met her, because she's the representative for the G7 from Argentina. So it's this woman that works in the government, and she's so kind, so nice, and we are friends online, and she's kind of mentoring me in the political career, or like in the because I'm a recent graduate. She's like mentoring me how to do that. I would never thought that I would meet my mentor in an online course. Our guy as well from Georgetown.
Antonio, we're losing
Course,
a bit there.
because he was, and now he lives in Europe. Are people like have so similar yet? We have really amazing that you get to meet people online that can be sometimes more close than the people that are around you. Yeah, that's quite nice.
Sorry, we lost you there a little bit, but from what I understand, you were saying that you met a lady who's mentoring you kind of from a politics point of view, and actually it's fantastic to have been able to meet someone in a virtual experience for that reason. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What were the obstacles that you had to kind of overcome in undertaking an international experience virtually, and how is it different to actually going abroad? Because I know that you've done both.
I think one of the major differences is that when you're abroad, you are constantly in the environment. Even if you are outside class, you're still in the experience. Like you're still abroad, you're still meeting people, you're still like constantly learning. As like differently, like when you're virtual, like you have these 8 hours in the laptop, because the Georgetown University was 8 hours non-stop. It was quite intensive. Or you have 2 hours on the weekend, but after you finish, then you close the laptop and you're back in reality, back at home. So I think that's one of the majors. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad. I think for me it was quite good, because at the same time I am an international student in London. So I didn't want to go abroad because I feel like I was missing out in London. So just being able to stay in London and at the same time having that virtual experience was like a plus for me. But yeah, it's quite different, because when you're online, as soon as you close the laptop, that's it. You are no longer there. But it's good and bad. It depends on what you want. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how do you feel you've benefited from from both international experiences?
Wow, I think I feel like my whole university experience changed because of that. And it was in the last term I did it. But I think, wow, I feel like, okay, from the Erasmus, we went beyond the course, and we did a project online in Instagram that had to do about conversations, because we were studying how to counter hate speech. And the conclusion we came at in the course was that you have to counter it literally with the opposite, which is love. And just being really empathetic, especially towards those people that commit hate crimes, because usually these people actually need support rather than being neglected. So what we did, we came up with a project in Instagram where we talk about social social justice and racial justice, and it just changed my whole perspective. I started a whole project on conversations online, on how to tackle these things, because before I will see like hatred online and I will just block, but now I understand that it's not about silencing them, but actually talking to them and seeing why, and see if we can counter it with arguments. So out of this whole experience, I did a whole project on just conversations and having dialogues with different people. And I think that's a project I want to continue. I'm still doing it actually, and I just changed my whole perspective. Now I want to go into communication because of the Erasmus course. So it really changes my perspective on how to do politics. And that's something I did not learn at Goldsmiths during my degree. I didn't learn that dialogue was important. I learned mostly that debate was what we went for. But actually, this experience at Erasmus taught me that I don't want to do debate, I want to do dialogue. So it changed my whole perspective on my degree. And for that, I'm very grateful. And from the Georgetown University, just having like Georgetown in my CV, I think it just busted so many opportunities. I learned from professors that are top like leaders in their fields. We were learning even from their own books. So they were teaching me their own theories, and that was just fantastic. And there are people that are known globally and that have been in very important positions. So learning from top professors in America really helped me distinguish how things are done in America and how things are made in the UK, and give me both hegemonic opinions in the world. Because I study politics in the UK way, but now I also understand politics from the US way. And I think that's quite important. So yeah, I think they both benefited me in different ways, but both of them were very crucial to my next steps as a graduate.
Fantastic, thanks, Antonia. And we're running a bit low on time, but I just wanted to, because I know we have quite a lot of international students on the call, and you've obviously connected virtually with people. Have you got any advice for students who are just starting at Goldsmiths? They're going to be building relationships virtually with quite a lot of fellow students as part of the beginning of their degree. What advice would you give them?
Sir, can you repeat that, because you were cutting a little bit and I couldn't hear you?
Oh, sorry. We have a lot of international students on the call who are just starting at Goldsmiths this week, and a lot of them will be connecting with students virtually because of how the term is this term because of coronavirus. Have you got any advice for how they could connect with people virtually?
Definitely, guys, don't be shy. Honestly, my friends at Goldsmiths were the ones that kept me going when things got very difficult. They were like, you can do it. We believe in you. And without their support, I honestly don't know if I could have done as well as I did. So don't be shy. Don't be shy, and don't think this is a competition or who is better. No, don't fall in that trap. You are to support each other, to grow together, to dialogue ideas, especially if there are different ideas. So my best advice is go at them in social media, ask them how they're doing, ask them for help, support them as well. And even, especially those that differ from you in their opinions in class, also be friends with those ones, because they're the ones that are gonna challenge you as a person to grow academically and personally and professionally. So don't be shy, just click follow, add, talk to them, check on how they're doing. Don't be shy. I think that's the best advice.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Antonia. I think we've got about 5 minutes left, and I know that's not very long, but maybe if anyone on the call has any questions for Alice or for Antonia, I can see one from Nicholas around the information about the Santander scholarship. I can maybe try and find that and share it. I've got the details of the Erasmus virtual exchange, which I'm just sharing now. But are there any further questions from people on the call? If you want to type them into the chat, then please do. Wait a second, let's see there are any. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Alice? Any other further reflections?
I don't think so, no. I'm just agreeing with a lot of what Antonia is saying about just going for it, not being shy. And I found it really interesting hearing about the virtual exchange because, yeah, it sounds like a good option, especially in the current climate. I think you've done a lot of cool stuff.
Well, Alice, I think the around virtual experience, there's still, I think they go on all through the year. So, and it's free. There's no need. It doesn't necessarily come through us. So, you know, it could be worth checking that out as well. And Antonio, I think you had an Instagram group about the hate speech kind of project. So feel free to share that in the chat as well if you wanted to. I think I can't see any questions. Anything else from you, Jack?
No, nothing for me. I think we've covered everything. Sorry, my last point would be sorry about the crow incident. That was very bad, and I'm gonna go and tell them off or something. So yeah, sorry guys.
I think we've got one more slide just to close in terms of a kind of sum up and kind of next steps. Jack, if you like.
Yeah, you might have to bear with me. Sorry, I won't be a second then.
I can see Antonio is just going to share.
Yeah. 1 second, I'm writing it down.
There is another question in the Q&A which is more related to study abroad opportunities for design undergraduates. Not every department has a kind of partner university. So for design, it's quite challenging to fit in a study abroad opportunity within your actual degree in the same way that Alice did. But you are able to potentially do an international experience as a work placement. So do talk to the design department about that. I think Jack mentioned it earlier that a design student went to Lake Como and did a kind of their work placement in Italy. So you might be able to do that. So do check that out. Otherwise, the summer experiences could be something to apply for as well. But study abroad for design students is not an option at the moment. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I think just the next steps really. Firstly, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Antonio and Alice. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. That was really great. Made me want to go back abroad again and do all of those opportunities. And it's really exciting to hear how it's kind of influenced you and your studies, and kind of also just great to hear how you've built kind of relationships that continue now, even though the experiences have finished. Thanks very much to Jack for presenting as well, and to Shannon and Ella on the questions behind the scenes. We've got a website with all of the information, so do check it out. We've also got a Go Abroad newsletter and a VLE page, a virtual learning environment page. So if you look for Go Abroad on the virtual learning environment, that would be great. And we'd love to hear your feedback on this session. So if you are able to, and I'm going to put it in the chat now, if you could fill out this evaluation form for us, it'd be really great to hear how you found the session and whether you found it useful. We're going to send these around, these slides around and the presentation around to everyone who signed up. And just keep an eye, as I said, a lot of it's a little bit uncertain at the moment, but we hope by the end of the year or in early January, we'll be able to launch the opportunities for next year and for next summer. We're also hoping to have some events over the term, maybe towards the end of November, with more promotional activity. So do keep an eye on that. Sign up for our newsletter, and I think that's everything. Anything else from you, Jack?
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much again, everybody, and have a really good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.